again this Shabbat. I wanna thank you all for participating. I see my dear friend Professor Ephraim Isaac from New York. It's good to see you here with us. And thank you for our distinguished speaker from the Office of the State Department Office of Monitoring the Anti-Semitism, Aaron Kayak. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, and please count on us to work with you in helping to combat anti-Semitism around the world, and of course here in our region. Judaism is a religion that believes in the combination or in the synthesis of the spiritual and the physical. Many other religions may be very physical or very spiritual. Judaism, we tend to combine both, and we tend to respect both domains. Of course, there are many of us that might be very materialistic, and many of us that might be very spiritual. And so in all aspects of life, I believe extremism is not proper and correct. It's the middle of the road that our sages have explained for centuries and millennia. That is the path that really should be chosen, and this is the path that finds favor in the eyes of God. An interesting philosophical dilemma our sages found in the parasha of today, as the parasha shifts from the lofty parashat Yitro of 2 weeks, the revelation of God on Mount Sinai, the spiritual, to the laws of mishpatim, dealing with the societal norms, laws of business, damages, tort law, and anything like that. And now the parasha speaks about building a sanctuary. As the parasha says, as God is asking for a sanctuary to be housed in it. And of course, the clear philosophical question that our sages have, and it's a difficulty, is that we know that God fills the entire universe. He is not a physical entity that we could really house in one physical place. The more so the question really begs an answer as to why would God ask for something like that? And secondly, he knows and we know that he cannot be housed in a physical place. And yet, not only one parasha, but actually 4 parashot, Trumah, Tetzaveh, and later on Vayakhel and Pekudei, they all deal with the physical aspect of that spirituality, housing the Mishkan, and also the garments of the Kohanim, which they were supposed to have to do the function of the spiritual leaders. And so where do we understand this concept of a Mishkan, which later on in life it became the Bet HaMikdash, the great temple on Jerusalem, on the Temple Mount, the first one and the second one. And even before the destruction of the second one, already the concept of synagogues around the world were in existence. There was one in Egypt, there was a great one, even during the time of Alexander the Great of Macedonia, which was much before the destruction of the temple. There were synagogues even north in Syria, all the way near Damascus, and one believed to have been built even by the minister of war of King David. That's 3,000 years ago. So this concept of synagogue, what is it that we can explain? So of course, the answer is no. God is physical, God is spiritual, absolutely. We cannot house him in one place. The pasuk says, "Melo chol haaretz kevodo." The entire earth and universe are filled with the glory of God, with the presence of God. The reason for that house, as many of our sages tell us, the Mishkan, is for us to understand, in a sense, the presence of God in our lives, to feel the presence of God of our life. Unfortunately, as humans, we tend to sometimes elaborate more on our physical life, on our materialistic possessions, than on our spiritual life and our spiritual well-being. And we have seen that happen very, very often. We tend to revere maybe somebody who has more physical possessions than somebody who has more spiritual inspiration. And because of that, in a sense, Judaism needs to balance that aspect between the physical and the spiritual. As humans, we need something physical to recognize the presence of God, unfortunately. We need something that is glorious, magnificent, because when we see something glorious or magnificent, we tend to respect more. We tend to believe more. We tend to listen to a person who has a lot of material possessions, believing that they are wiser and more intelligent. And so therefore we might accept their advice than somebody who is really very wise, but yet is devoid of any physical and materialistic possession. That's human nature, unfortunately. And that's one of the main reasons that our sages tell us the commandment to build a sanctuary is for us to understand the presence of God, that he is amongst us. In fact, the pasuk, and many have commented on that, it says, "V'asulim mikdash," and they shall make me one sanctuary in the singular. Yet at the end it says, "V'shachanti betocham," and I shall dwell amongst them. And so again, our sages say that there is a discrepancy between the singular and the plural. It should have said, "and I shall dwell in it." It is exactly to explain to us that no, God was trying to say, no, I cannot dwell in that house because no house can fit the dimensions that I have. But once you have a mikdash, once you have a sanctuary in your community, amidst your people, then I shall dwell amongst all of you, each one individually. And that is the function of a synagogue. That's the function of a sanctuary. It's a place in which we go there to feel more spiritual. We go there to feel more the presence of God. Without a sanctuary, there is really no community. No community has survived without a synagogue in their midst, without a place for prayers, a place for socializing. Believe it or not, in my previous synagogues, a few of my congregants were telling me, Rabbi, do you know why we come to the synagogue? I said, tell me. So, well, of course, we come to pray and this, but most importantly, we come to meet our friends. We do the best business in the synagogue. That's how we connect. Well, be that as it may, but a synagogue is a place of gathering. In Hebrew, beta knesset means knesset is the gathering, the assembly. It's a house of gathering. It's a house that we all gather, we meet, we socialize. Yes, we pray, we feel the presence of God, absolutely. But a community without a synagogue, a community without a functioning one, that community, unfortunately, cannot last. And that is the wise understanding of the Almighty by asking us to build that sanctuary so we could go in it, so we could dwell in it, so we could be part of it and feel that spirituality and feel they are members of one nation, all together, united, gathered in that holy place. And hopefully that will give us a better understanding of who we are, our relationship with God and the spiritual, and that way we could perpetuate that for the generations to come. Shabbat Shalom.